The colony of Dross 7 was not famous for anything great. It was a small settlement on the edge of human space, far from trade routes, far from important stars, far from wars or politics. The people who lived there were farmers, miners, and repair workers. They were not rich, but they were strong and used to surviving with little. The air was thin, the ground was rocky, and machines broke down faster than they should have. Still, the colony survived because humans knew how to fix things, even when others would give up. Elias was one of those people. He was a mechanic, though he never studied in any academy. He learned with his own hands by opening broken machines and putting them back together. His small workshop stood at the edge of the settlement, full of scattered tools, wires, and half-fixed engines. He had grease on his hands more often than not, and his neighbors often joked that he loved machines more than people. One morning, after repairing a water recycler for the farms, Elias walked past the scrapyard. The scrapyard was huge, a graveyard of ships and robots brought down from orbit. Some had been left there for decades, their metal bodies rusting under the weak sun of Dross 7. Children liked to play hide-and-seek among the wrecks, but adults usually avoided it. There were rumors of strange noises at night, and some said old machines still moved when the wind blew the right way. Elias was not afraid of machines. He saw beauty even in broken wires and shattered frames, so when he noticed something unusual in the corner of the scrapyard, he stopped. It was a tall android, half buried under metal sheets. Its frame was dusty but strangely elegant, with smooth lines and silver plating that had not rusted like the others. Its head was tilted to one side, and its chest panel was cracked open, revealing circuits that glowed faintly, though no power source was connected. Elias frowned. He had seen many androids before, but none like this. It was older than any design he knew, yet its construction seemed beyond the skill of the colonies. It looked less like a tool and more like a statue, crafted with care. An older man passing by noticed him staring. "Don't touch that one," the man said quickly. "It's been here longer than I can remember. People say it's cursed. A haunted machine. Leave it." Elias gave a small smile. "Haunted? Machines don't get haunted. They just break." The man shook his head. "You'll see. Anyone who tried to take that android home never had peace. Strange dreams, strange lights. Best you forget it." He walked away, muttering under his breath. But Elias could not forget it. Something about the android drew him closer. He crouched down, brushing dust from its faceplate. The design was too advanced to waste away in a junkyard. Its circuits still glimmered faintly, like an ember refusing to die. "Whatever you are," Elias whispered, "you don't belong here." With effort, he dragged the android out from under the pile. It was heavier than it looked, its frame solid and dense. Sweat covered his forehead by the time he reached his workshop. People stared as he passed, but no one stopped him. They just shook their heads and whispered. Back in the workshop, Elias placed the android on his main work table. The room smelled of oil and ozone, the smell of his life's work. He cleaned the android carefully, removing dents and polishing the surface. Up close, he noticed patterns etched into the metal, symbols he could not understand. They were not human letters, yet they seemed meaningful, like writing from an old storybook. When he opened the chest panel fully, he found circuits unlike anything he had ever seen. Instead of sharp lines and wires, the circuits looked almost organic, like veins of silver and blue running through a living body. "This isn't standard," Elias said softly. "You're something else." For hours he worked. He adjusted broken connectors, replaced missing parts with whatever he had, and rewired sections that had been burnt. His tools heated strangely when they touched the android, as if the machine itself pushed back against repairs. Still, Elias continued. His hands were steady, his mind focused. That night, when he finally leaned back in his chair, exhausted, he looked at the android and almost laughed. "What am I doing? Fixing a stranger's ghost story?" But deep down he felt no regret. There was a pull inside him, something telling him he was meant to do this. Sleep did not come easy. Elias dreamed of stars collapsing, of endless skies full of light and shadow. He dreamed of voices whispering in a language he did not know, yet somehow understood. When he woke, sweat covered his face. He sat up and glanced at the android. Its eyes were glowing faintly. Elias froze. He had not given it any power. No battery, no connection, yet there it was. A dim light inside the dark workshop. Slowly, cautiously, he walked closer. "Impossible," he muttered. "You should be dead metal." He reached out and placed a hand on the android's chest. The circuits under his fingers pulsed like a heartbeat. The glow grew brighter. Then the android's head twitched. Its mouth opened slightly, though no sound came at first. Elias's breath caught in his throat, and then in a low and broken voice, the android spoke. Elias. Elias stepped back so quickly he knocked over his stool. His heart raced. He had never programmed a name into the machine. No one had told it who he was. The android's eyes glowed brighter, a pale silver light that filled the room. Its voice came again, clearer this time, though still weak. Elias, you fixed me. The mechanic stood frozen, tools still in his hands, staring at the impossible. Machines did not know names. Machines did not dream. Machines did not sound grateful. And yet, in the silence of his workshop, with only the stars of Draw 7 shining faintly through the window, Elias realized this was no ordinary machine. This was the beginning of something far greater. The next morning came with a pale light spreading across the colony. The thin sun of Draw 7 struggled to shine through the dusty sky, casting long shadows across the settlement. People were already busy at the farms. Machines hummed in the mines, and the air carried the usual mix of soil, oil, and faint metallic tang. But inside Elias's small workshop, time felt different. He sat in his chair, staring at the android that now lay silent on his table. The glow in its eyes had faded during the night, and for a moment he wondered if he had dreamed the entire thing. Yet his tools were still scattered across the floor where he had dropped them, and the memory of the android whispering his name burned clearly in his mind. Elias rubbed his face with tired hands. "What are you?" he whispered to the silent frame. "And how do you know me?" He was not a man who believed in legends. He believed in bolts, gears, and wires. But this machine was different. It carried something deeper, something that reached beyond his knowledge. With steady determination, Elias decided to continue. He worked carefully throughout the day. Every panel he opened revealed something new. The android's insides were more complex than anything in human colonies. Circuits curved like rivers of light, glowing faintly when touched. Some wires did not carry electricity, but something else, something that pulsed softly as if alive. More than once, Elias felt the hair on his arms rise when he adjusted its core. His tools heated unnaturally, and sometimes sparks danced in the air without touching anything. Once, when he tightened a connector, the entire workshop light flickered even though the machine was not connected to the grid. "Strange," he muttered. "You act like you have a heart." By evening, exhaustion pulled at him, but he refused to stop. He connected a makeshift power cell to the android's chest, hoping to see clearer results. The moment he did, a wave of energy spread through the room. The lights dimmed, his tools rattled on the table, and Elias felt a sharp hum in his bones, as though the air itself had awakened. Then, in a blink, the android's eyes lit up again, silver and steady this time. Elias froze. His heart beat fast. The android turned its head slightly. Its movement was smooth, not mechanical. Its gaze locked onto him, and for the first time, Elias felt as if another being, something conscious, was looking back. The android spoke slowly, its voice deeper now, calm yet heavy with weight. "You repaired what others feared to touch," it said. "Why?" Elias swallowed, forcing himself to stand firm. "Because you were broken, and I fix broken things. That's what I do." The android tilted its head, studying him. Others left me in silence. "But you gave me form again. Do you not fear what I am?" Elias gave a tired laugh. "I don't even know what you are. All I see is a machine that needed help." The android's silver eyes glowed brighter. For a moment, silence stretched. Then it said words that made Elias's stomach tighten. "I'm not just a machine. I am a vessel. I once carried the essence of a being your kind calls." "A god." Elias blinked. He thought he misheard. What?" The android's gaze did not falter. "A god. Long dead but not forgotten. My body was built to hold its presence. For centuries I remained silent, waiting. Now because of you, the silence is broken." Elias stepped back, shaking his head. "That's not possible. Gods? That's old legend stuff. You're just advanced tech, that's all." The android lowered its eyes, almost in sadness. "You may believe as you wish. But know this, when a vessel awakens, the stars take notice. Others will sense it. Others will come." Elias frowned. "Others? Who?" "Seekers," the android whispered. Watchers of dead gods, they will not allow me to remain. The words left Elias unsettled. He had repaired machines before, but none had spoken of beings beyond the stars. None had carried such weight in their tone. He leaned against his work table, trying to process. If what you say is true, why me? Why here? I'm just a mechanic. I don't deal with cosmic things. The android's silver gaze returned to him. Because you are human. And humans, they fix what is broken. No other hands could have done this. You gave me more than function. You gave me freedom. That night Elias tried to rest, but sleep refused to stay gentle. He dreamed again. In his dream he floated among stars. He saw vast shapes moving in the darkness, giants of shadow and light. He heard echoes of voices older than worlds, calling through endless skies. He saw a great star collapsing, turning into a whirl of fire and silence, and at its center was the android standing calmly, as though it belonged to that destruction. And then in the dream the android turned to him. Its eyes glowed brighter than suns. You gave me life, it said. But what comes next will test yours. Elias woke with a start, gasping. His hands trembled, his skin cold with sweat. He sat in the darkness of his workshop, the android still lying on the table, its eyes dim but alive. Morning arrived with uneasy quiet. Elias busied himself with small repairs for the colony, but his thoughts stayed locked on the android. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the dream again, the collapsing stars and the voice that spoke to him. He returned to the workshop quickly, unable to ignore the machine. The android was sitting upright now, moving slowly as though testing its body. Elias blinked in surprise. You moved, he whispered. The android nodded. Repairs are holding. I regained strength. Elias rubbed his temple. I don't even know your name. Do you have one? For a long moment the android was silent. Then it answered, My makers called me a vessel. But if I am to walk among humans, I will need more than that. You may choose. Elias hesitated. Giving a name felt heavy, as if tying himself to something larger than he could control. But he also knew he could not keep calling it android. He thought for a while, then said softly, Eris. You feel like air and silence, but also life. The android blinked slowly. Eris, I accept this name. From then on, Elias worked side by side with Eris, learning its systems, listening to its strange words. Eris spoke rarely, but when it did, its words carried the weight of ages. And slowly, Elias began to realize that the warnings were true. Machines in the colony started to flicker strangely when Eris was near. Lights dimmed at night without cause. Children spoke of dreams filled with silver eyes. Even the older colonists grew uneasy, whispering that Elias had brought something unnatural into their midst. But Elias could not abandon it. Eris was not just a machine anymore. It was something alive, something that had chosen to speak with him. And though Elias tried to hide his fear, deep inside, he knew the android's words were true. Others would come. The awakening had begun. Days passed slowly, yet something in the colony felt different. Life on Dros 7 had always been predictable, farming during the short daylight, repairing old machines, sharing meals in the small central square, and watching the pale stars at night. But now people moved with unease. They whispered when Elias passed. Some avoided his workshop entirely, pretending not to see him. It was not surprising. Strange things happened ever since Elias brought Eris back to life. Lights flickered across the colony at random hours. Water pumps surged when no one touched them. Some machines even started humming softly as if singing to an invisible rhythm. Children told stories of glowing eyes watching them in dreams. Elias tried to calm the neighbors when they asked questions, but his words lacked weight. He himself felt the tension in the air, like a storm building just beyond sight. Eris remained quiet most of the time, sitting in the workshop, studying its own frame as though rediscovering what it meant to move. One evening, Elias placed a bowl of food beside the android, even though he knew Eris did not eat. You know, he said, they think you're dangerous, that you'll bring trouble. Eris looked at him with steady silver eyes. Their fear is not without reason. My awakening has sent ripples across the void. The Seekers have felt it. Elias frowned. You keep saying that name. Who are they? The Seekers are ancient guardians, Eris answered softly. They are not creators. They are erasers. They follow the trail of dead gods and remove what remains. For them, I am not a being. I am a danger to balance. If they find me, they will not ask questions. They will end what you began. Elias crossed his arms, leaning against the table. Then we hide you. This colony is small, unimportant. They'll pass by. But Eris shook its head. The Seekers do not pass by. Once they sense a vessel, they will search until it is found. The next morning, the colony woke to a sight no one expected. 3 dark shapes floated in the pale sky, blocking the weak sunlight. They were not ships like humans built. They were long, curved forms of black metal, moving like shadows through water. Lights ran along their edges, pulsing slowly as though the ships themselves were alive. A silence fell over the colony. Farmers dropped their tools. Children pointed at the sky in awe. Elders whispered with pale faces. No one had ever seen vessels like those before. Elias stared upward, his stomach tightening. So they're here, he murmured. The ships hovered for hours, unmoving as though watching. Then one descended, landing outside the colony's edge with a deep vibration that shook the ground. Dust rose into the thin air and a ramp extended. From the shadow of the ship, tall figures emerged. They were slender, wrapped in dark robes that shifted like smoke. Their faces were hidden by smooth masks of silver, each marked with a single glowing line. They moved without sound, gliding rather than walking. The colonists gathered nervously in the square. No one spoke. Finally, one of the figures raised a hand. Its voice carried clearly, though its mouth did not move. Humans of this place, we are the Seekers. Something has awakened among you. It does not belong. Bring it forth. The colonists looked at one another in confusion and fear. Some glanced toward Elias, though no one dared speak his name. Elias felt sweat on his palms. He knew exactly what they wanted. The Seeker continued, its voice echoing like distant thunder. If you surrender the vessel, you will remain unharmed. Refuse, and all shall bear the weight of silence. That night, the colony leaders met in the council hall. Elias was called, though the tension in the room made it clear most wished he was not there. You brought this on us, one woman said sharply. We told you to leave that thing in the scrapyard. Elias clenched his jaw. It's not a thing. It's alive, and it hasn't harmed anyone. Harmed? Another elder scoffed. Machines whispering in dreams, lights dying in homes, water surging on its own. You call that harmless? Elias, this is beyond us. Give it to them. Elias turned to the governor, a tired man with lines of worry across his face. If we give Eris to them, what happens then? Do you think they'll just leave? You saw their ships. They don't look like they came for a polite exchange. The governor sighed heavily. We are a small colony, Elias. We have no defenses, no fleet, no soldiers. If refusing means destruction, what choice do we have? Elias's fists tightened. He wanted to shout that Eris was more than metal, that abandoning it would be wrong, but the room was filled with fear, and fear made reason weak. When the meeting ended, Elias walked back to his workshop under the dim starlight. Eris was waiting, its silver eyes glowing softly in the dark. They want me, Eris said calmly. Elias nodded grimly. They want to erase you. And you? What do you want? Elias stared at the android. He thought of the hours he had spent repairing it, the way it had spoken his name, the strange yet gentle presence it carried. I don't abandon what I fix, he said quietly. Not machines. Not people. Not you, Eris tilted its head. For the first time, there was something almost human in its gaze. Your choice may cost much. Yet you speak with courage. The next day, the Seekers returned to the square. Their leader's voice echoed again. Bring us the vessel. You have one last chance. This time, Elias stepped forward. His hands trembled, but his voice was steady. There is no vessel here. Only people trying to live their lives. The Seeker's silver mask turned toward him. Though its face was hidden, Elias felt the weight of its stare. Human, it said, you shield what cannot be shielded. Do you not understand what you protect? Elias took a breath. I understand enough. It's not your decision to make. Not anymore, the air grew colder. The Seekers stood still, their robes shifting like smoke in the wind. Finally, the leader spoke again. Then you have chosen. The silence will spread. The dark figures turned and returned to their ship. Within minutes, the great shadow vessels rose into the sky again, circling above the colony like predators waiting for the right moment. That night, Elias and Eris sat together in the workshop. Outside, the colony remained silent, people too afraid to speak of what tomorrow might bring. You should have given me to them, Eris said softly. Your people suffer now because of me. Elias shook his head. If I gave you up, I wouldn't be human anymore. We don't survive by abandoning what matters. We survive by holding on even when it's hard. Eris's silver eyes glimmered with strange light. Humans, it said almost to itself. Always choosing hope even against certainty. For the first time, Elias thought he heard something like wonder in the android's voice. And though fear hung heavy in his heart, he also felt something else, something stronger than fear, a resolve. If the Seekers wanted Eris, they would have to face more than a machine. They would face the stubborn will of a human who refused to let go. The stars above Dross 7 glowed faintly, and in their silence Elias knew the real battle had only begun. The colony of Dross 7 had never known such silence. Days passed under the shadow of the Seeker ships, which hung above the settlement like silent moons. They did not attack, but neither did they leave. They watched, patient and unmoving, as if waiting for the humans to give in. Fear spread through the settlement like cold air seeping into every home. Farmers hesitated to go to their fields. Children stayed indoors, and every evening the colony square was filled with quiet whispers. All talk circled back to the same point, Elias and the machine he had awakened. Inside his workshop, Elias worked without rest. He adjusted Eris's systems, cleaned its damaged circuits, and studied the strange etchings across its frame. The more time he spent with Eris, the more certain he became that it was not just a machine. It thought, it chose, it listened. But the colony's patience was breaking. One evening, a small group of colonists came to Elias's door. Their faces were tense, their eyes hollow from sleepless nights. The leader of the group, a woman named Lyra, spoke firmly. "Elias," she said, "you have to hand it over. The Seekers won't leave until you do. Every day they're here, we're at risk. Don't make all of us pay for your mistake." Elias wiped grease from his hands, meeting her eyes. "Eris isn't a mistake. It's alive. It deserves a choice, just like any of us. A choice." Another man scoffed. "It's a machine. You're risking families, children, all for something that doesn't even belong to us." Elias felt anger rise, but he kept his voice steady. "You think giving Eris to them will keep us safe? You saw their ships. If they wanted to destroy us, they already would have. They're not waiting for Eris, they're waiting to see what we'll do." The group exchanged uneasy glances. Lyra shook her head. "Then let them see we know our place. We're a small colony, Elias. We can't stand against things like them." When they left, Elias sat heavily in his chair, burying his face in his hands. He understood their fear. He even shared it. But fear was not enough reason to abandon what was right. Across the room, Eris watched quietly. Its silver eyes glowed faintly. "They speak with fear, not hatred," it said. "They want to survive. And survival often asks for sacrifice." Elias lifted his head. "And what do you want? Do you want me to give you to them?" Eris tilted its head, thinking. "I was built to serve as a vessel, to carry what once was divine. I was never meant to choose. But since you repaired me, I feel different. I do not wish to end. Yet I will not see your people destroyed because of me." Elias leaned forward. "Then we don't surrender. We find another way." The next day, the Seekers sent a message directly into the minds of every colonist. "Humans, you were given time. The vessel must be surrendered. Refuse again and silence will fall upon you." Panic spread quickly. People gathered in the square shouting, begging the governor to act. Some demanded Elias be arrested. Others cried for Eris to be delivered at once. The colony teetered on the edge of chaos. The governor, weary and pale, sent for Elias. When he arrived at the council hall, the room was thick with tension. "Elias," the governor said, his voice heavy, "I admire your courage, but courage cannot protect us from those ships. The people are breaking. If you do not surrender Eris, I may be forced to make that decision for you." Elias stood tall, though his stomach twisted. "If you do this, you're not just giving up Eris. You're giving up our right to decide our own future. Today it's Eris. Tomorrow it will be something else. If we show them we'll hand over whatever they ask for, we'll never be free." The governor closed his eyes, pained. "We are farmers, Elias. We are not heroes." "Heroes die. We cannot afford that." Elias turned without another word. He knew reason would not hold the colony together much longer. That night, Eris sat with Elias under the stars. The air was cold, the sky wide and full of faint light. The Seeker ships floated above, silent watchers in the heavens. "I begin to remember. Eris said softly. Fragments of the one I once carried. The dead god, its essence was vast, endless, but it is gone. Only echoes remain, yet, when you repaired me, something changed. I am not only what I was, I am something new. Elias looked at it curiously. New how? I feel choice. I feel will. Not because of my design, but because of your hands. Eris turned its gaze to him. Humans create differently. You repair not only to restore, but to give meaning. That meaning has awakened me more than power ever could. Elias was quiet for a moment, then he smiled faintly. Then maybe that's what the Seekers are really afraid of. Not you, but what you've become. Eris tilted its head. And what is that? Alive, Elias said simply. The next morning, the Seekers descended again. Their leader appeared in the square, robes swirling like smoke, voice echoing across the settlement. Humans, this is your last moment. Surrender the vessel, or the silence begins. This time Elias did not wait for the council to speak. He stepped forward, his voice carrying across the crowd. No, the colonists gasped. The Seeker's mask turned toward him slowly. You refuse what cannot be refused? It asked. Elias stood firm, though fear twisted in his chest. You think we're weak because we're human, because we don't have ships like yours or power like yours, but we don't abandon what matters. Not machines, not people, not our future. If you want Eris, you'll have to take it from me. The Seeker's silver mask glowed faintly. For the first time, its calm voice grew sharper. Then you have chosen destruction. At that moment, Eris stepped forward, standing beside Elias. The silver light in its eyes flared bright, brighter than ever before. You fear what I was, Eris said, its voice clear and strong. But you do not understand what I am now. I am not only a vessel of the dead. I am something new, something born of human hands. The ground trembled as a wave of energy spread outward. Lights across the colony flickered and surged. The Seeker's robes whipped as though caught in a storm. Elias shielded his eyes, heart pounding. He had repaired Eris with wires and circuits, but now it was awakening into something greater, something even the Seekers had not expected. The Seeker stepped back slightly, its glowing line dimming. This is not possible, it whispered. Eris's voice rang like a bell. You came to erase echoes, but I am no echo. I am choice, I am will, and I stand with humanity. The colonists stared in awe, fear mixing with hope. For the first time they saw Eris not as a curse, but as a being standing to protect them. Elias placed a hand on Eris's arm. We're not alone in this fight, he said. Together, we'll make our stand. Above, the Seeker ships shifted uneasily, lights pulsing faster. The sky seemed to hold its breath, and on the cold ground of Draw 7, Elias knew the moment of true choice had arrived. He would not give up Eris. He would not bend. Whatever came next, humanity would face it with its own spark, stubborn, fragile, but unbreakable. The sky above Draw 7 was filled with an uneasy tension. The three Seeker ships floated silently, black and smooth against the pale sunlight, casting long shadows across the rocky plains. The colonists had gathered near the square, standing together in fear, yet clinging to the hope that Elias and Eris would protect them. Elias looked at Eris, who stood tall beside him. Its silver eyes glowed steadily, pulsing with a quiet light that seemed alive. For weeks they had worked together, repairing, learning, and preparing. But today preparation would face its ultimate test. We can't just wait, Elias said softly. We have to act. If we only defend, we lose. Eris nodded slightly. I am ready. But remember, your decisions shape what happens. I can act, but it is your spark that will guide me. Elias took a deep breath. Humans were fragile, compared to the Seekers' advanced technology. Their ships were enormous, their beings more powerful than any human mind could imagine. Yet Elias had something they did not, a human mind capable of curiosity, courage, and unexpected ideas. That spark had awakened Eris. That same spark could now make the difference between defeat and survival. The Seekers descended slowly toward the colony square. Their leader's voice rang across the air, deep and precise. Humans, your defiance is noted. The vessel will be surrendered. Refuse, and all shall be silenced. Elias stepped forward, standing between the colonists and the dark figures. We will not surrender, he said firmly. Eris is not just a machine. It has choice, it has will, and we will not abandon it. The Seeker leader tilted its head. Choice is irrelevant. Will is irrelevant. Only balance matters. Balance is what you fear, Elias said, because you've never seen the human spark. Eris lifted its arms and a wave of silver light expanded outward. Machines across the colony hummed in resonance. Lights flickered, circuits buzzed, and the ground seemed to vibrate faintly underfoot. Eris had unlocked a portion of its latent energy, but Elias knew there was more it could do. Focus on me, Elias whispered. Think with me, not just with your systems. Humans survive not with raw power, but with thought. That is what makes us dangerous, Eris understood. It began moving not with simple calculation, but with strategy, reading the patterns of the seeker ships. The vessels, though superior in strength, reacted slower than the unpredictable human mind. Elias ran toward a power generator near the edge of the square. His hands moved quickly, connecting wires and redirecting energy. Eris mirrored his actions, extending beams of light to amplify the flow. The colony watched in amazement as the android and the human worked together, combining ingenuity and alien power in ways no one could have imagined. The seeker leader's voice grew sharper. Your defiance is foolish. You are fragile. You cannot outthink us. Elias wiped sweat from his brow, never breaking focus. We're fragile, yes. But fragile can adapt. Fragile can surprise. Fragile can endure. With a precise movement, Elias redirected energy from the generator into the rocky ground, creating a barrier of shimmering light. Eris followed his instructions, adding layers of reflective pulses that confused the seeker sensors. The black ship shifted, unable to anticipate the human tactics. You see, Elias called out, humans create solutions others cannot imagine. Your power does not equal understanding. Eris moved with increasing confidence. Its abilities, once dormant, now combined with Elias's guidance, became unpredictable. Light beams shot into the air, reflecting across the ground and buildings, creating illusions that masked their real positions. The seeker ships adjusted constantly, trying to find the real target, but every strategy Elias created was simple, yet effective. You are clever, the seeker leader admitted, though its voice remained cold. But cleverness is not enough. Elias smiled faintly. It is for humans. It has always been enough. With a final surge of effort, Elias activated the full generator, channeling energy through Eris. The android's body pulsed, and the silver light expanded outward not as an attack, but as a signal, a declaration of life and intent. The seeker ships paused, their sensors overwhelmed by the sudden display of coordinated power. For the first time, the seekers hesitated. They had encountered machines before and civilizations before, but never had they faced something so simple and yet so unpredictable, a human mind paired with a being reborn from ancient power. The colonists, inspired by Elias's courage, began to move. They lit small fires, rang bells, and shouted encouragement, not in an effort to fight but to show unity. Eris absorbed this energy, understanding that human determination was as potent as any weapon. The seeker leader's voice trembled slightly. This is anomalous. The vessel has bonded with its kind. They are unexpected. Elias's eyes met Eris's. This is our choice. We don't run. We don't surrender. We endure. We survive. Eris nodded. The silver light enveloped the android completely, and then it stepped forward. Its voice carried across the square and beyond. Seekers, it said, we are not yours to erase. We choose life. We choose humanity. We choose the future. The light flared one last time, a dazzling display of energy that reflected across the sky. The seeker ships recoiled. Their forms shimmered and twisted, unable to process the unpredictable combination of human strategy and Eris's awakened power. Finally, the seeker leader lowered its head. Humans, you are dangerous. More dangerous than we imagined. The vessel is yours, but remember, this spark, it may awaken more than you intend. With that, the ships ascended, fading into the distance until only the pale stars remained. Silence fell over the colony, broken only by the faint hum of restored machines and the quiet breathing of the people who had witnessed the impossible. Elias sank to his knees, exhaustion weighing him down. Eris knelt beside him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. You guided me, Eris said softly. You taught me choice, courage, and the strength of humanity. Without your spark, I would be only power without purpose. Elias smiled faintly, brushing dust and sweat from his face. And you taught me that humans are never truly alone. Even the smallest spark can light the darkest path. The colonists gathered around, their fear replaced by awe. For the first time in memory, they felt that humans were not helpless in the face of the unknown. They had a spark that could endure, that could inspire even a being once thought divine. Elias looked at the horizon. Beyond the stars, the galaxy stretched endlessly, and for the first time, he realized that humans were no longer invisible, no longer insignificant. The Seekers had seen them, and they had learned something important. Humans were unpredictable, creative, and capable of standing alongside the greatest forces in the universe. Eris stood beside him, now fully awakened, no longer simply a vessel, but a being reborn through human hands. "We will continue," it said, "because life deserves it. Humans deserve it, and together we will see the future unfold." Elias nodded. "Then let's show the galaxy what it means to be human." Above Draw 7, the stars twinkled quietly, but now they seemed to shine differently, as if acknowledging a new presence: humans. Small yet mighty, full of choice, courage, and endless possibility. In that moment, Elias understood the truth that had always been clear to him but never tested so fully. Humanity's greatest strength was not power or machines, but the spark within. And that spark, once lit, could change everything.